Everyone, hope you're doing well ahead of our game against Everton. Not the most exciting game, it has to be said. I'm pleased to welcome Mike back to the channel to get insight on all things Everton. And there's quite a lot to get through, actually, Mike. Can we start with your off-field things regarding your football club currently? What's going on with the ownership side of things?
Right, yeah. So at the moment we're in the process of a takeover. So the ownership has all been agreed and everything in principle. So we're just waiting for all the Premier League sign off and the FCA sign off and all that. So company called the Freakin Group, the same company that own Roma in Italy. So they've come from decent pedigree of running a team already. So from our perspective, we're quite excited to get these over the line because obviously the madness that we've had over the last few years under Moshiri's tenure has been crazy, been in news stories left, right, and centre. So to look to get in a professional looking outfit from the outside looking in, we've done a lot of digging ourselves to try and understand how they've run Roma and what they've done there. Now they've had some good success there winning the European Cup with the Europa League when Mourinho was there, but they're going through a little bit of a bumpy patch at the moment. Roma, getting rid of a club legend at the start of the season. They got rid of De Rossi as the manager. But yeah, so they're on course. Everything looks like it's going to plan for them to take ownership, which should be this side of Christmas. That should be completed, which is really important for us, so that they can get in place for obviously the January transfer window, which is something they've sort of stated that they want to do themselves, is get that in place for the January transfer window as well. They've also got some loans within the club already. I think tuned to around about 150 million, which they put loans in to help finish off the building of the new stadium. So they're already sort of integrated within the club to some degree. So yeah, that's where we're up to, and that's where it's ongoing. So like I say, should be sort of, I think best estimate is end of this month, potentially sort of going into the first couple of weeks of December.
What's your ambitions for the new owners? Because obviously, when Newcastle fans got theirs, their ambition was, "Hey, we're going to win the title here." Look how rich they are. With what you know about your new likely owners, what are you hoping to get from them?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, can't speak for every Evertonian, but I would imagine a lot would be the same. So first of all, it's just a bit of stability. We just spoke off camera then, we just briefly about Everton. We're constantly in the news. There's some story going on. There's some mayhem behind the scenes, and it's been pretty much constant throughout Moshiri's tenure. It started off with a bit of positivity when it came in splashing the cash. But since then, it's all sort of gone wrong, and it's been bad news story after bad news story. So for us, it's about getting on an even keel, and someone coming in place who can maximise the new stadium potential. Get those revenues up, and get us on an even keel from an FFP perspective. Obviously, where we've been foul play of that last season. So for us, it's to get that, to then start the building blocks of actually, the club performing on and off the field, how a Premier League club needs to nowadays. Everyone sort of goes to sort of like the Brighton sort of model or that type of thing, but we've gone past the stage of wanting to just splash the cash. We know that doesn't really work, and it's not sustainable unless you're one of the top 6 revenue generators in the league. So for us, it's a case of making sure we start recruiting properly. We're looking to the future with the buys that we're bringing in, being a lot more progressive with that side of it. So I think the fan base, we're looking for that stability, a little bit of injection of cash flow. We've, contrary to sort of a lot of newspaper reports, we have still got a bit of headroom for spending after the sales that we've done in the summer. So we've got a little bit of headroom, but there's no cash flow available. So we're hoping they can come in, free up a little bit of cash flow, bring in a couple of signings in a couple of key areas, like left back, right wing, are 2 areas on the pitch that we're absolutely crying out for. And then just slowly just progressing up the table and start, generating a sort of an identity again and a style of play, because at the moment it's all about keeping our head above water, and that's what it's felt like it's been for 2 or 3 years now.
In regards to your stadium, then, how are you feeling about it? Is it looking good? Are you excited? Are you a little bit nervous? Obviously, it's going to be sad leaving Goodison Park, but I think one problem I don't know if this is giving you anxiety, but obviously fans of other clubs, ourselves included, that moved to their new stadium and, oh, this is crap. This ain't as good as the old place. How are you feeling about your upcoming trip
Yeah,
across Liverpool?
again, can only speak for me, but the feel of a lot of Evertonians I know as well. It's more of excitement. I think Goodison probably needed. We need to be out of Goodison 25 years ago. It's not like it's it's something to move to something bigger and better because you want to generate more income, whatnot. Goodison's just not fit for purpose. It's not fit for purpose for the match day going fan. I think it's 51% of the seats are obstructed view currently. So you go, it's a it's great when it's bouncing, under the lights and there's a good performance, but that's not all the time. So you need that match day experience when you go. So the new stadium, and I don't know if you've seen anything of it, and I'd encourage anyone to have a little look because although it looks inside quite generic, is sort of the feel that we're getting from opposition fans, but from the outside, it's in a really fantastic location. It's down on the docks of Liverpool, so it's in a really iconic spot. The outside of it is magnificent, looks very different than most modern football stadiums. And the biggest thing for us is, and where the architect Dan Mike's done a fantastic job for us, is he's made the the stands really close and at the highest incline that they can be legally in the UK. So the fans will be right on top of the pitch. So it's still going to generate that sort of bear pit atmosphere. So obviously, until you get in there, you don't know. But just on the surface of it, it doesn't look quite soulless as potentially like the West Ham Stadium or the London Stadium, and some of the new ones. It seems so sounds a bit corny, but it's got that Everton DNA put across.
Yeah, yeah.
There's been a lot of that sort of thought process put into place. Now the negative side to that is that probably the capacity is a little bit lower than most of us would have hoped, but can't really get both. I don't think where they can get the intimate sort of steepness of the stands and the numbers in there as well. So capacity is going to be at the minute 52,888 is the exact number, which I think only makes it about the ninth biggest stadium once it's even open. So again, there's a lot of fans that are a little bit disappointed in that number, but I think once they start going and understand how the match day experience will be and what we can do on for the players on the pitch.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of stick for when the things come out and it's it looks like a Bundesliga ground, but I don't see, and they mean it as like a criticism. I think that's like praise. I think the Bundesliga crowds are really good actually. So if it looks like a Bundesliga stadium, I'd be all for that personally. So if people mean it as if it's like a negative, but I think that's a compliment to some extent. And I think with the capacity thing, we've seen the other side of it. We are the other side of it. You can go too much, you can go too big,
Yeah,
and it dilutes the home support. So there's people there, there's bodies there, but it doesn't mean they're supporters of your football club. It's people, it's revenue. That's all it is. So yes, your revenue is greater, but if the atmosphere comes down, and it's finding that balance. And I think if you said to me today, would you swap the London Stadium for 14,000 less capacity, but it looked like what you're currently building, I'd bite your hand off for it any day of the week. I think it looks really good personally. And it does look steep when you see the stands. You think, whoa, hang on. We wouldn't want to be sitting in the top tier. You've got vertical, but if it's going to make a racket, it's going to make a racket. I'm actually quite intrigued by it, actually, and I quite like Goodison Park. From the long term to the short term, then, what have you made of your season so far?
Not great, if I'm going to be honest. Really, really, really poor start. I think last time we spoke, we was doing obviously the video on styles of play.
Yeah.
And we were slap bang in the process of picking up a few wins off the back of the points deduction, and we'd had a good reaction to it. It was sort of a front foot football, but fast, a little bit aggressive. Now that seems to have sort of regressed quite significantly, and certainly this season. So at the moment, our style of football is literally just kick it long to Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Now, earlier on when I was talking to you, it was still quite basic football, but it was getting around, getting crosses into the box, and like I say, high energy. It doesn't seem like that at the moment. The players on the pitch don't look like they're enjoying the style of football themselves, and the results aren't coming with it. Now that this style of football with a Sean Dyce or a Sam Allardyce, that type of manager, it only works if you're getting results, and I know that's pretty obvious, but it's not pleasing on the eye. We've won 2 games all season. And that was off the back of, if you think we technically, without the points deduction, we would have been on 48 points last season, which I think would have finished around 12th. So we were hoping for a bit of progression. We sold Amadou Onana in the summer, but we brought in some better attacking players. Amadou Onana, we weren't really utilising him as a player. He was a fantastic footballer. We knew we'd go on and show well, but we almost bypassed the midfield, so he wasn't a key player for us. So we were hoping, some of the signs we brought in, attacking players, we would look like a slightly different outfit than what we have, and there'd be a little bit of progression. Absolutely nothing of the sort. It's gone backwards at the moment. And we've been on a little run up until the Southampton game. I think we were 5 games unbeaten, but in that 5 we won 2, drew 3. But prior to that, we lost the first 4 games of the season. So for us, it's not. We've had a really good start as well in terms of fixtures. We couldn't have asked for a better fixture list to start with. We've got an absolutely horrendous December coming up. So we as fans all know that those points needed to be on the board. So it's a little bit concerning at the minute.
In regards to Dyche, then, where do you sit in regards to keeping him or sacking him? What's your view on Dyche?
Yeah, so for me, previously, again when we spoke, I thought Dyche was the right man for the situation. This was last season, and when he originally come in, when we got to the summer, I would have actually replaced him in the summer. I thought if the club wanted to look to progress and improve, and from a bit more of a solid foundation, that was the time to do it. However, they stuck with him, which didn't massively, concern me. And again, I do think he's got enough in the locker to keep Everton in the division. But we've got to move past that. That's been our thought process for 3 years of just staying in the division. Our players within the squad, I believe, are better than that. Not massively better than that, by the way, but I think we should be sort of, between 10th and 14th comfortably in the Premier League, but playing an half decent bit of football along the way. So at the moment, I'll be honest, I'm at the stage where I want to see him moved on. However, the caveat to that is I would rather that be done once the Freegan Group have taken over. So the Freegan Group obviously taken over. They've got their people in place, and that decision's made with them making that decision. I would hate for that decision to be made without their consultation. Now, whether it could be done now and they do have that is another matter, but I'd certainly want them to be the people that are making that decision in terms of hopefully getting like a progressive manager and someone we can build a future with step by step. So for me, look, the situation, like I say, when you've got a manager playing such pragmatic football, and I mean really, really, like we've ended the last 2 games with Michael Keane playing up front. So our sub is to bring on another centre-back to put our centre-back up front. Absolutely mind-boggling. We take off Calvert-Lewin and put a centre-back up front. It's madness, honestly, and we're getting out tactically manoeuvred by every manager that comes either to Goodison Park or anywhere that we travel to. And then again, he's not using Goodison Park. We're in the last year of Goodison Park. The fans are waiting to burst. They want to create an amazing atmosphere. They want to make this last year so important for the club. And he sets us up so negatively that it's really, really difficult for the fans to get going. So for me, I'd like to move on. If the Freegan Group were in place right now, I'd say this is do or die, this game for him, to be honest.
I never really considered that last year at the Goodison. I know it's last year at Goodison Park, but I never really considered the factor. And a lot of the stuff you say, I can relate to as a West Ham fan. And when you said that, I thought, well, our last year at Upton Park, we were incredible. We were close to Champions League football with Slaven Bilic, with Dimitri Payet. We were winning games 3-2 every week. The football was fast, it was exciting, and we could go into any game. Doesn't matter who we played, and I would believe we would win. I didn't believe we could keep a clean sheet. We couldn't do that for love nor money, but I knew we were good for 2-3 goals, and usually that was enough. We were going in some games a goal, 2 goals down at half time, and there was part of me thought, doesn't matter, we're going to come out in the second half and we're going to get a couple. And sometimes that proved the case. And I've just thought, when you said that, I thought, could I imagine that last season at Upton Park is one of my favourite seasons by a mile as a West Ham fan. And when you speak about it, a lot of people say, well, we were only good that year because it was last season up Upton Park. Now, I don't subscribe to that idea. I don't think things like that just happen. But I will accept it was a huge factor, and that really motivated those at the club. And so imagine the last season Upton Park being like what you're speaking about, oh my word, that would be taking away one of my favourite memories. And no, I wouldn't.
Frustrating. Like I say, it's not just the results; it's the style of football.
Yeah.
Because there's not a lot of goals in the team. Complete opposite of what you've just said. We go goal behind, and
you're done.
It's absolutely painful. We've won one home game this season, and just to sort of let your fans know and everything, because I think the media sort of can portray that Dyche is doing a good job because Dyche is very good at controlling the narrative, very, very good controlling the narrative. We've won 7 Premier League games since December 23. So, and 3 of them at the end of last season. So that's where we're at. Back under Moyes, we used to win 14 games at home over a season, and won 14 games at home over the last 3 seasons combined. So that whole Goodison atmosphere, that Goodison sort of intimidation to the away fan, they just turn up, tickle our belly, and take the points and go home. So at the minute, I think we're quite happy to be playing away from home.
I mean, you might. Fortunes may change this weekend. I'll get your thoughts on that in a second. Just quickly, is there any manager in particular you would like to replace Sean Dyche?
If I'm being honest, I haven't really thought about it too much because, I'm going back to the freegan side of it. I'm sort of more thinking, there's no point thinking about it because I know it's highly unlikely to happen until they come in. There's some sort of like maybe obvious ones in terms of depending on what you want to try and achieve. Now, for me personally, if you were going down the route of making an appointment before the freegans come in and trying to just sustain your Premier League status whilst building blocks, the irony is I'd have David Moyes back. He's free, he's available, so it wouldn't affect the cash flow. Dyche's contract's up in the summer, so it wouldn't take a lot to pay their staff off. And I feel like Moyes would really, really buy into that Goodison thing and exactly what we were just saying. He would get us on the front foot. Moyes was the manager over the last, including like Ancelotti, who knew how to fit. Actually, saying it with Ancelotti, most of his time at Goodison was under COVID, but Moyes could utilise that crowd unbelievably well. So short term, something like that, but not a long term appointment. Like I say, I would, if the freegans were coming in, I'd like to think that they've got a bit more scouting knowledge than what I would have in terms of European managers and managers with a progressive sort of style of play. You look at, again, I go back to Brighton, but they just drop managers in that I've never heard of, and they drop in and suddenly nothing changes, and they carry on playing the same style of football, and it's attacking, it's exciting, they don't seem to be scared to play any team. And I think that's the type of manager I want represent my club. Someone who'll go, oh, we're not going to win every game, we're not that type of fan base that deluded, but we want to go and be on the front foot and not be terrified of playing teams. At the moment, we look like a League One side. Against everyone we play, we set up like we are terrified of having possession of the ball. We went down to Southampton last week, who were on 1 point, I think, for the season, hadn't won a game, hadn't had a clean sheet, had only scored 6 or 7 Premier League goals, and we literally looked terrified of them. We said, you have the ball, and just set the tone. It was absolutely horrific. So, yeah, long answer. I'm not exactly sure. If it was me just doing a short term right now under the Mashiri sort of banner, I'd probably go down the Moyes route. If it was going down the freegan banner, hopefully in a few weeks' time, and I'd be absolutely flabbergasted if they didn't replace Dyche almost as soon as they come in. I'd like to think they'd have someone ready-made to come into that position.
You're almost getting my hopes up here. From your team to my team, what's your thoughts on West Ham?
Yeah, so again, it feels like a really big game for both teams. You've not had a great start. Obviously, we're replacing Moyes, looking for a little bit of progression and whatnot. And I've watched a few games earlier on in the season, West Ham games, and you look very, very vulnerable at the back. You look very soft. It didn't look like the West Ham that I'd seen over the last few years, who had that sort of, it was all, you knew it was going to be a tough game. It does seem like it's had a little bit of an upturn. That's what I know outside looking in, where it looks like it might be a little bit more of a difficult sort of game than it was a few weeks ago. I think I'm thinking back to the Chelsea game. That was, I was watching that Chelsea, and they were just walking through you. There wasn't a challenge put in. It was mad to watch. But again, if you're going from a transition of style, Lopetegui might take a bit of time to sort of get what he needs in place. So again, it's two teams that are probably not too confident going into the game. So from my side, I don't see much positivity from our end. So it feels like it's going to be a tough game. But again, you're probably thinking the same your side.
Yeah, we did our preview yesterday, and to sum up the game, I said no one's looking forward to this game, and I include West Ham and Everton fans in it. There's not one person in this world looking at this fixture going, "Oh yeah, that'd be a good one. I'm going to tune in and watch that." Nobody's thinking it. In terms of Saturday, though, how do you see this game going? What do you think is going to occur?
So I think we'll set up as we have been doing, which will be surrender possession to you. We'll sat deep. I'd like to hope the fans' pressure means that Dyche will bring Branthwaite back into the defence. Been absolute madness. The guy's been fit for the last 2 games. We fought all summer to keep him, and we've gone back to reverting to play Michael Keane at the back, who we've had for years and we know is not quite at the level. And to be fair to him, he hasn't been horrendous. The irony is James Tarkowski's probably having a bit of a worse time than Michael Keane at the moment. But Jared Branthwaite is our best footballer at the club, and he's not playing. It's absolutely mental. I'd like to think he comes back in. If he comes back in, it does make a massive difference. And I know it sounds strange that one player can, but with his pace at the back as well, his left foot, the balance he brings, we can play a slightly higher line. We can be a little bit more on the front foot and transition quicker on the counter. But it will be a case of we'll surrender possession to you. If you can break us down, get the first goal, you'll win. If not, we might win a corner, we might win a free kick and put a head on it. That's what we've been set up all season. If anything changes, hopefully it does. But if nothing changes, that's exactly how the game will play out.
And a score prediction from you, Mike?
I'm going to try and be positive, and I'm going to go 1-1.
Naturally being positive.
Positive.
Brilliant. Anyway, Mike, thank you so much as always. It's an absolute pleasure. If you guys at home have enjoyed this video, please do drop a like on the video by clicking thumbs up. Subscribe you to Hammers Chat. Myself and Mike will, well, when we catch up with you later on this season, they might have new owners. We both might have a new manager. We both might still be in the bottom half of the Premier League. We'll catch you then.